Good morning, Real Life. It is so good to see you this Father's Day Sunday. Let's stand up. We have been adopted into the family of God. He is worthy of our praise. Let's worship Him. Whoa, 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 Hello, my name is Child of the One True King. I've been saved, I've been changed, I have been set free. Amazing grace is the song I sing. Hello, my name is Child of the One True King. Yeah. Whoa, 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 I am no longer look at my life. Hello, my name is Child of the One True King. I've been saved, I've been changed, I have been set free. Amazing grace is the song I sing. Hello, my name is Child of the One True King. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The Father has lavished upon us that we should be called His children. I am a child of the one true King. What love the Father has lavished upon us that we should be called His children. I am a child of the one true King. What love the Father has
here today. What a special treat for us on Father's Day. Hey, you can have a seat real quick. We want to welcome you to Real Life this morning. Welcome to church, whether you are joining us here in person or worshiping with us online. Either way, we are so glad that you are here. Where Real Life, it is our mission to introduce Southern Maryland to a relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, if this is your first time here with us this morning, you're brand new with us, we want to take a moment to encourage you to fill out a Connect card that's located on the chair in front of you, that pocket right there in front of you. Fill that out, and we would love, love, love if you would take that card at the end of service back to our Connect Center. We want to exchange that card for a tumbler that's filled with all kinds of chocolate and information about the church. Now, we want to take a moment this morning to recognize the fathers in our lives. First, we want to say that you are awesome and you're worthy of celebration. From the men that stayed in the game with children of their own, to the men that stepped up to care for and raise and father those that are not biologically theirs. Even to the grandfathers that are back at it a second time with their younger generation. We applaud you here at Real Life. Now, we also recognize that being a dad comes with different personality, different styles, but with each one, there's a lesson to be learned. So to the hilarious dad that seems to have more than one funny bone in their body, like you just don't take life that seriously. You have a joke for every occasion. And somehow you made us laugh even when we didn't make the team. And you made us laugh when we just got dumped. You teach us that the joy of the Lord is our strength. To the brave dad who would say things like, life is dangerous, but fear is a choice. Or you just taught us to just rub some dirt on it. Or you somehow convinced us to jump into the deep end of the pool when we first started swimming and somehow convinced us that you will only almost drown. We thank you. You've taught us to face life head on, knowing that God will always be by our side. To the toolbox dad who says, hey, if it's broke, I'm going to find a way to fix it. Now, it doesn't always come out the way it's supposed to, but you've taught us that setbacks are never the end of the story. To the patient dad who worked with us to the wee hours of the morning, fixing that bike, working on that school project, or practicing that shot from the three-point line. You put in a full days of work just to come home and clock in some overtime with your kids. So to all of you, along with the faithful dad, the no-nonsense dad, the coach dad, even the geeky dad, or the guy who has two thumbs and loves to tell dad jokes, this kind of dad, and all the 100 others that we've probably missed, we want you to know that we love you, we applaud you, we need you in our lives. And that God has placed you right here and has given you an eternal impact on your children. And though we know that you'll never be perfect at it, we're just so happy that you're trying. So here at Real Life, we recognize your timeless importance in the family, and so we can never truly repay you, but we thought you do deserve at least payday as you leave the service day. So we want to wish you a happy Father's Day. So please stand back up with us this morning. Let's continue in our time of worship.
Burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, laying it down, and I know that I need you. Run to the Father, fall into grace. Done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Saw my condition, had a plan from the start. Your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have a context for that kind of love. Don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. Run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to
pray. God, as I stand here this morning and I think of all the ways you allow us to address you, God, I think sometimes we call you Yahweh, and we do that in reverence of your might, of your power, of your sovereignty, understanding your greatness as much as we are capable of understanding it, Lord. And I love the beautiful tremble that name brings me, just understanding that you are so big, so capable, and yet you call me by name. But this morning, Lord, that's not the name that comes to my mind. Father God, today I call you Abba, because you are my Father, perfect in all of your ways. And I think of your faithfulness. I think of your mercy and your grace, the gentle way you both discipline me because you love me and guide me and lead me as we go. You know all my days, every mistake, every shortcoming, every sin, yet you equip me with every gift and every ability, and you speak mission into me because you are our Father, and you love us so deeply and so greatly and so patiently. Good are you alone. Worthy are you, Abba. Praise you. Thank you. We love you so much. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. You guys can be seated. Again, I just want to say a special happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the room. Can we just give it up for the dads one more time? Come on. Yes. We are so glad that you joined us this morning for worship. We want to thank you, church, for your continued faithfulness. As always, we have all of our regular online options available to you. We also have some pretty cool boxes located in the back of the sanctuary if you would like to drop that off this morning. I just have one quick announcement. I'm sure some of you guys noticed, if you missed it last week, we have a bulletin board with some envelopes on it. Those envelopes are actually to help our youth get to both camp and a mission trip this summer. So if you feel so led to give towards that, it's super simple. All you have to do is just grab an envelope off that board. It has a dollar amount on it. You are more than welcome to give above that. We just would love that here. I'm just going to say it unashamed, okay? So if you just grab that envelope and you take it home, fill it up, and then bring it back either next week or the week after, drop it at our Connect Center, and let's help these youth get to camp in ASP. Sound good? All right, guys, let's continue to worship together.
Hey, thanks for being out on Father's Day. What'd you think of those men? Wasn't that great? That was just cool. We are glad you are here. This is kind of a transitional week for us, so let me just talk to you about that for just a moment. We are well aware that summer is upon us. I know your kids wrapped up school this week. Thanks be to God, mine did too. And so we know you are thinking about where you're headed and what's going on and how all the places that you're going to go and the neat things you're going to do this summer. So here's what we want to tell you at Real Life. We're going with you, all right? So let me know where you're going. Make sure you make space. We're going with you. Now, what I mean by that actually is all summer long, we want to stay connected with you. Here's what we've been talking about as a staff. Here's what we're thinking. I feel like God is up to some things in our lives. Don't you think so? That God is just doing some really cool things, and we don't want to kind of say, well, God did some great stuff, and we're back, and so we'll take the summer off, and by fall, it'll be great. So rather, we said, what if we made sure that wherever we went this summer, we stayed connected with church. So we've created Church on the Go. So every time you see this emblem, every time we hit you up with this emblem, it simply means we've got some little connection point that we want to be able to stay with you wherever you are on that work trip, on that family vacation. And so what we're going to do is during the week, we're going to send you about a 1.5-minute devotional one time during the week from our pastors. Just be a little video reminding you of the thought that we shared that week. Our youth leaders are going to be reaching out to you, just a little hit here and there. And actually, our worship leaders are going to, like, every now and then send you a link that says, hey, this song's neat because, or we sang this song last week in worship. And so every time you just get one of these and you see this logo, Church on the Go, it's just a brief moment for you to stay connected with the family of God. Doesn't that sound kind of cool? And I hope you liked it. It was my idea. So we're going to do that. So the best way to make sure you stay connected is to have our app. Have our app, have our app, have our app. So if you don't yet have our app, just go onto the Apple Store or onto the Google Play Store, download the app, and we'll just give you these simple little push notifications a few times a week. We're not going to overwhelm you, but we're just going to stay connected with you as we get into the summer. This is going to begin the week that leads to the 4th of July. So next weekend, we are going to begin our summer sermon series. It's called Untold Stories. And what we're going to do through the summer is we're going to share with you some Bible stories that maybe are a little less known Bible stories. Some of you are going to say, oh, I forgot that one, or maybe I've never even heard that one before. And then we're just going to make a simple application to our lives. What can be learned in our own lives from it? That starts next week. Last week, we wrapped up, as you know, a pretty heavy series that we're in called Mind Control, and we were talking about everything from how do we deal with temptation and anger and how do we make good decisions. So a real heavy series there. So this week is just a pivot week, if we could. And so what I would like to do today is share with you a sermon that actually, it's a one-point sermon. And in fact, I want to keep you so low stress today that when I get to the one point that is the one point, I'll actually say to you, there's the one point, all right? Sound like a plan? So that's what we're going to do for a few minutes here this morning as we transition into the summer. Now, if Rascal Flatts is right at all, life is a highway, all right? And if life is a highway, that makes all of us some kind of vehicle. So for a couple minutes this morning, let me ask you, what kind of vehicle are you? Like, for example, some of us are like a pickup truck. In life, we're just like, things need to get done, and I'm the one to get it done. You love to tackle the hard job. You love to see it through. If you're kind of like a pickup truck, you're the sort, when you get this big project going and like the clock disappears, it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m, you are going to finish it up before you go to bed. And so you're like, whatever it takes, just bring it on. We're going to get her done. And that's just kind of the way you live life. So some of us are pickup trucks. Some of us are more like minivans, because it's all about the family. It seems like it is all about the kids. Your calendar is about the kids. Your budget is about the kids, right? Your planning is all about the kids. And as far as you're concerned, when you lay your head down tonight to go to sleep, if the kids are happy, you're happy. And you're in that era of life right now where you wouldn't dream of missing family reunions and you're planning family vacations. When I talked about that a minute ago, you were getting all excited just thinking about it. If you're in kind of the minivan life right now, there's probably Legos on your floor and Eggos in your toaster, and you're just kind of rolling along with that kind of life. And then some of you are like, no, I'm not really minivan. I'm more like SUV. Right? I'm like minivan, but a little more swagger, because we're the minivan parents, even if I wear stained sweatpants around the house, I still dress in something a little nicer if I got to run up to the grocery store. And so I think maybe I'm a little more like a SUV. And then somebody like, no, I'm a sports car, right? I'm just embracing life, and I am going for it. It's no regrets. Let's take off. If I paint a palette, it's all in the bright colors. When I show up at a party, it's twice as fun as the minute before I was there. And so, there's just, I'm just a race car. And then a lot of us are like, no, I can't really say I'm a race car. In fact, I'm probably a little more of a horns tucked in a little bit kind of person. And so I'm just a sedan. That's what I am in life. I'm a sedan. You're a Toyota Camry, you're a Honda Accord, you're a Volkswagen Jetta or a Chevy Malibu or something like that. Now, don't be embarrassed if you're a sedan, all right? If race cars don't marry sedans, they just drive off the road. It's a mess, all right? And so we need sedans this road, because sedan people are like, you know what? I live life, I enjoy life, I'm grateful to God for life, and I just kind of move along and I plod along, and it's an effective way to live, and so that works for you. So now maybe I missed you. Maybe you need to find me in the foyer after service. I don't know, maybe you're a moped. I don't know what you are, but whatever it might be, catch up with me later, tell me that I missed you. But here's something that I know. No matter which one of these we think we are driving down the road of life, if you look on the gear shift, we all have only this. We have only this. In life, there is no park. There's no park. You don't get to just say, today it all stops. The world's going to stop spinning because I can't deal with it today. Or I'm having so much fun today, I need today to stop because it's just going to be this way forever and it's never going to change. The kids are never going to get older or any less adorable. Or, right now we've met all the bills and life is just going to stop. Life never stops. There is no park. And there's definitely no reverse. We know that, right? You can't go back and live yesterday again. You can't go back and live last year. And some of us are like, man, if there was only reverse, I would go back. I would be nicer to that teacher. I really think they were just trying to do something for my own good ultimately. Like, you know what, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would probably change some things in how I raised that first child because I had caught on by the third child to a lot of things. Some of you are like, you know what, if I could go back in reverse and do it again, I would listen to my daddy when he told me not to date that boy. And, but you can't go back. You can't go in reverse. Life doesn't work that way. In fact, life doesn't even have a low gear. You can't slow it down. There's no accelerator pedal or low gear when it comes to this vehicle that is life riding down the highway because time just keeps moving on. And time is metered and it doesn't slow down or speed up for any of us, even though it feels different. Because how many of you know an hour sitting on the beach and an hour sitting in the dentist chair do not feel like the same thing? But it is. Because time speeds up and slows down for none of us. It's an atomic clock, and it just keeps moving and moving and moving. And we live our lives one moment at a time. There's a word for that. It's called linear. All of us live our lives linear. This moment, then the next, then the next. And so as a result of that, as a result of the fact that that's the only gear we get on this life that is a highway, there is lots of this. Never saw that coming. Didn't know when I got up today that was going to happen. We all have surprises in our life. You've ever had a good surprise, right? You got called in, you thought you were getting fired, and they gave you a raise, right? Thought you failed the bar exam, but you passed it. You turned 50, and everybody, snuck off to the restaurant, and you walked in, and they flipped the lights on and said, surprise. Have you ever had those moments? They're pretty cool, right? There's some pretty cool surprises because we live linear. My parents, when they're on their 25th anniversary, my brothers and I planned an anniversary surprise party for them. Now, you may remember there were 6 boys in my family. I'm 4th out of 6. It kind of peaked right about 4. And Jay, I know you're watching. I meant that. And so, but there were 6 boys, and we decided we're going to do this party. Now, when I say we, actually, the older 3 planned it. The younger 3, they knew if we knew about it, Mom and Dad would know about it. So they planned this party, and here's what they did. My oldest brother and his wife took my parents out for dinner that night. They drove about 15 to 20 minutes out, and then Dave feigned as if he had forgotten his wallet at home and said, no, we got to turn around and go back. So they flipped around and came back. In that 30 to 40-minute window, they were gone. Our entire church descended on our house, set up food and balloons and stuff, and they were all there so that when my parents walked back in the door, they all shouted surprise. And the amazing thing is, we pulled it off. Now, the reason we pulled it off was because the older 3 were the only ones who knew about it. And so we pulled up. My parents were completely surprised. In fact, they so successfully kept it from my parents that the week leading up to the surprise party, my mom had taken all of her drapes down in the living room and had taken them to the dry cleaner. And so when my mom came in that night and everybody shouted surprise, you could instantly see on her face this thrill and this terror. Because my mom, she'll be here next service, you can ask her, she likes things the way she likes them to be. And she went back and forth from, I can't believe all these wonderful people are here, to, I can't believe all these people are here. And seeing my house this way without drapes. But that's just how life works. It has its surprises. And not all of them are so good. Not all of them are so easy when they land in our lives. And we can be the world's best planners and have the world's largest insurance policies, but not be prepared for what may hit us next. Because this life has no guarantees. And because we live our life linear, there will be some unwelcome surprises that come into our life. And today I want to talk about, what do you do? What do you do when that kind of heartache and difficulty and trouble and stress comes into your world? Now, of course, we've all been living this way for thousands of years, and King David wrote a psalm that really kind of captures this idea that something is dropped into his life, something heartrending, something difficult has happened. And I want us to look at this psalm, it's Psalm 102, and look how it opens up. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Let my cry for help come to you. Don't hide your face from me when I am in distress. So something significant's going on. Turn your ear to me when I call and answer me quickly. Lord, something's happened and it's not good. And boy, do I need you right now. Got that medical test back. You were pretty sure you were fine. Everything seemed to indicate it was no big deal. It turns out it's a big deal. What do I do now? You walked into work thinking it was just another day. Before the day was over, they told you, there is no more work for us here, and your job has been downsized. You walk out the door not even knowing what's next. You sat at dinner and just asked your wife what she wanted for dessert, and she looked at you and said, you know what I really want? What I really want is a divorce. And your world started spinning. And pandemics rage, and people die, and cars crash, and houses burn down. And things we would have never guessed might happen. And change just never stops. And the problem is we're actually hardwired to resist change, not to like it. Did you know that at the very base of our brain there sits this little part of our brain organ called the amygdala? The amygdala is constantly the part of our brain that is scanning for changes in an environment. Your amygdala is the part that would react if suddenly a loud noise suddenly happened right now in this room that was unexpected. It would be your amygdala that would say, okay, do we need to do fight or flight here right now? What's going on? Do we have to get out of here? That's the amygdala. You're hardwired to resist and be sensitive to the possibility that change creates danger and problems. And so as a result, in life when we go through difficult things, small difficult things, large difficult things, we easily wind up exhausted, afraid, angry, uncertain. And so since we know this is true, since there's only a D on the lever, how do we get through this life then with those things? Well, let me tell you. In an uncertain and unconstant world, God is the only constant. That's the one point today, by the way. God is the only constant. In a change-filled world that is rocking, He is the rock. You see, when I say that God is the constant, I mean He does not change. I mean He will not change, and I mean He cannot change. There's a theological word for this when we talk about the unchangeability of God. It's that God is immutable. Say that word with me, immutable. It means no matter how long He's existed and no matter how long He will exist, He will always remain true to His character and nature, and He will never change. He's immutable. So when everything else surprises us and changes, when everything else is shaking, and boy, everything else really does shake, doesn't it? You thought you had a great career going as a manager at Blockbuster, right? And you had the safest job ever because people are never going to stop watching movies. This was a sure thing. Who would ever heard of streaming, right? There was that person in your life, they were always your rock. And one day, your rock got sick. And then they died way too young. She said at the altar that she would love you forever, and it didn't even make it 5 years. You were best friends. Nothing could separate you, but then that job across the country happened, and you had to go. And it rocks our world. But nothing rocks God's world because He's the rock on which we stand. David saying, Lord, everything around me is shaking and thinking through, okay, how do I get my moorings back about me? Begins to think about the nature of God. And he says in this psalm, in the beginning you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They'll all wear out like a garment. Like clothing, you'll change them. In other words, God, you're so constant, you can choose to change things up. You can recreate and undo and redo as you see fit. They'll all be discarded. But say these two words with me. You remain the same, and your years will never end. Okay, I get it. God is the only constant in the midst of whatever's happening in my life right now. Yes. And so since you get that, lean on Him. Lean on Him. So you say, okay, if God's not going to change in character and I'm going to lean on Him, what is His character? I mean, if you're telling me that the way God is the way God is, then how is God? And here's why we really need to know this. We need to know this because for those of you who have been with God for a long time or have met people who are, you know sometimes we ask God for things and He doesn't do them. Or sometimes we're certain we know what would be best for our life or easiest for our life, and it doesn't happen even though we trusted that with God. And so suddenly we step back and we say, wait, if my confidence in God being the constant isn't that God's always going to do or answer the way I want, then I got to move on to what His character is. Because if I won't always understand what He's doing, I need to understand something about who He is. So today I want to give you two parts of the character of this God who's the constant in your life, and then I'm going to send you on your way on Father's Day. Here's the first one. God is our only constant, and He is holy. He's holy. There is no other singular word for God that is more completely descriptive of God than the word holy. To be holy means this: to be both all-powerful and completely trustworthy. Understand that God's holiness means He has all the might, and at the same time, you can trust Him because He is loving, He's righteous, He'll always do what's right, He's consistent in character, He'll never have a bad day. And I've told you this before if you've been with me a while, this makes Him so different than those Greek gods you had to read about the Passion mythology course in high school, who were capricious, who had good days and bad days, and had people they liked and people they didn't like. That's not our God. Our unchanging God is perfectly holy. His love for you will never die. His ability to do the right thing will never change. That's why the one who has all the power is completely trustworthy as well. And this is so important because His ways to us sometimes seem almost whimsical. God, why did you come through for him, but then it seems like you didn't come through for her? Why did you answer that prayer, and this person prayed the exact same prayer, but you didn't answer it for them? God, why in the past did you take care of my need before I ever had it? You had provided, but this time I'm having to talk to you and trust you, and I've got this need and it's unmet, and I'm waiting on you. It seems like you never do things the same way twice. In fact, we have a biblical expression for this, and some of you have heard this, God's ways are mysterious. And it sounds a lot more fun to say than it is to live. Like, I don't like this mysterious stuff with God. I wish He'd just explain it all to me. Here's the problem with that. If God is small enough for us to fully understand Him and grasp everything about Him, then He's too small for the God we need. Because our God is greater than that way. His ways are higher than our ways. His knowledge is above our knowledge. His planning is better than our planning. And so my God is big enough that even if he tried to explain to me everything he was doing, I'd be clueless. I'd just be clueless. Because that's how great our God is. He is holy. And so, since he is holy, today you don't have to question his might or his intention. Whatever's going on in your life right now, you say, God, you are my constant. And God, I am so thankful that you are holy. Because I trust you to do what needs to be done. Yeah, but Pastor Todd, I don't see God at work in this. I don't see what possibly could ever come out of this. And, you know, I was telling you about my parents earlier. The other day, I was talking to my dad, and he was sharing with me this interaction that he and mom sometimes have. Like, if they're out driving, and it's a pretty cloudy day, and then there's like this little break in the clouds, and you can see some sun coming through. He said, Mom will use this expression, looks like the sun's trying to shine. And my dad looked at her and said, honey, the sun doesn't try to do anything. The sun shines. Whether we're seeing it or not, the sun is shining. And if you don't understand that that's true, just be on a cloudy day someday and go to the airport and get up high enough, and guess what you'll discover? The sun indeed is shining. Because that's what the sun does. And let me tell you something. If you've got something difficult going on in your life, do not say to yourself, well, I think maybe God's trying to work or God's trying to do something. Our God doesn't try to do anything. Our God is fully capable of doing everything he ever needed to do. And he, Jesus said, is always working. God's not trying to do anything. God knows exactly what he is up to. And because right now in our life there's pain, there's difficulty, there's uncertainty, it means you are going to have to say, God, you're my constant, and I trust you because you are holy, not because you guaranteed me this is going to work out the way I like it. Come on, you all right? This is supposed to be a more lighthearted sermon. So, God, you're my constant. Here's what I know about you. You're holy. Here's the other thing. God, you are faithful. I love that word. Say it with me. You are faithful. I so wish that this morning I could just give you the gift of age without the curse of aging. You know what I'm talking about? I wish I could give you the gift of the beautiful thing that age brings us without the curse that aging brings us. You know what I'm talking about? If for those of you who aren't yet there, let me tell you, aging equals loss. Loss of memory, loss of hair, loss of height, loss of muscle, loss of other things that I can't remember anymore. I mean, just, that's what aging does. And I really don't mean to depress you on that. The other day I got up and I was explaining to my wife, I heard here and I heard here and I heard here. And she said, well, what do you think you got? I said, I think it's AGE. I said, that's what it is. That's what I've got. And some of you are going to get that riding home. But it just is what it is. But here's the thing. And this might be my favorite thing I'm going to tell you this morning. The gift of age for those of us who know the Lord is, the longer you've lived for the Lord, the more you've seen him bring you through. That's the gift of age when it comes to serving Jesus. See, it's a beautiful thing to recognize what a great track record God has. To be able to look back and say, I'm going through this right now, but you know what? I remember when God brought me through this, and that was even harder, or that was similar, or that wasn't as difficult, but I've watched him do this, this, this. He's setting me up. If I trusted him this level, this level, this level, boy, this one's at this level, I'm just going to continue to walk with him. I'm just going to trust him for it. It's a beautiful thing to see him come through. And I know in my own life, it doesn't matter. In fact, in your life too, you can't skip. By loving God a lot, you can't skip ahead and get something any other way than just the experience of time of living for him and seeing him come through. He's faithful. You know, there's a great old hymn. For those of you who know the hymns of the church, you probably grew up singing this. It says, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Now notice it didn't say, if you'll just turn your eyes upon Jesus, all the problems are going to go away. It didn't say they'll go away. But it says they dim when the brightness of God begins to shine brighter. You know how you dim the wattage of your current problem today? You reflect on the greatness of God and his faithfulness, how he's been faithful. Because here's the thing about God. God doesn't live linear. We do. We already talked about that today. We live linear. God doesn't. Tomorrow, God's not going to say, who didn't see that coming? It doesn't work that way for God. God sees the beginning from the end. He knows what we're going to face. He's already seen it. He's already there in our tomorrow. So, trust him. Whatever you're facing, he is holy. He's faithful. And he's already there in the middle of it. So, as we get ready to wrap up, let me just encourage you to have perspective on your problem. Sometimes in life, we're worked up over something, and it's not as big of a deal as we're making it. And we're going to get a week from now, we're going to get 3 months, and then we're going to look back and go, you know what? I wore myself out over that, and I didn't need to. Man, if I had just stopped and taken a breath and seen how great God is, I would have said, you know what? That's not as big of a deal as I'm making it. Some of us, we're going to get a 5-year perspective back and go, oh, I was sure that was a life changer, and it wasn't. It was merely a seasonal thing. And so trust God enough for that. And then also keep this perspective. There may be some things in your life and you're like, oh no, Pastor Todd, that's not a seasonal thing. No, that's one that I'm going to carry with me until I breathe my last breath. I can't bring that person back to life again. I can't undo that devastation that happened to me at some point in life. I'll have to figure out that that's going to be a part of my story as I go on, all the way to the end. Well, it's even in those moments that we have to trust God's holiness and his faithfulness. And we'll carry it all the way until we breathe our last breath. And then you know what we'll do? We'll lay it down at the feet of Jesus in eternity. So you say, well, does King David have anything for us if that's our Psalm 102 experience today? What does he have for us? In the ending verses of that psalm, he says, the children of your servants will live in your presence. Their descendants will be established before you. In other words, our life is not just our life. Our life is tied to lives before us and lives beyond us, after us, our descendants. And so I want to tell you, the decision you make about how you will deal with your troubles in life, whether you just fold up like a tent or whether you say, you know what, God, I'm going to trust you in the midst of them, will impact more than just you. They'll impact the generations behind you who are watching you as they see you go through some things, maybe something even so difficult, you're going to carry it all the way in life until you lay it down to Jesus someday. That generation's watching you. Because bottom line, descendants live with us in the good times, but they learn from us in the bad times. You want your kids someday to say, even though mom and dad faced that impossibility, I watched them trust God. Even though everything was shaking around them, he really was the rock in their life. Even though they never got that prayer answered the way they wanted, they trusted God. And I want to trust God that way. Look, my life's just the same as yours. I don't know what's around the corner on this highway. But this I know. I don't want to go there if God's not there. But good news, he's already there waiting on me. I want us to bow our heads together as we close out this morning. Here's what I'd love to do. I'd love to give you an opportunity just to put a name to whatever might be that thing on the horizon. Maybe it's not on the horizon. Maybe it's a year in the past. A name to that trouble, the name of that person, whatever it might be. And today you're like, you know, I'm just going to recognize that God's the only constant in my life. And God, I'm going to celebrate right now in prayer that you are holy and that you are faithful. And today what we're going to do is right where you're sitting, if you want, you're just going to surrender that thing to him. But I also think for some of you, you might be a lot like me. Sometimes you've got some stuff, and if you could just get yourself in a position of humility, right on your knees before God, it just puts you in a physical position to surrender to God. And so the team's going to start singing. We don't want you to worry about singing. We'll sing at the end. But as they sing, maybe what you'd like to do is get up from your chair and just come and make a kneeling place between you and God, because God's the only constant. No one else is going to come down today and pray with you. This is a chance just for you to surrender this to God. So whether it's in your chair or for a number of us, maybe you want to just come and do that right now here at this altar. As the team sings, just get up from where you are and come right now, and we're surrendering these things to God.
Fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding. No reason to wait. My heart felt desertion. My soul felt afraid. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. God bless you, church. Go in his grace. Men, don't forget your extra payday.